See, it's my mic on. Sounds like it. Good morning. It's afternoon. I might still be a little bit jet-lagged. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nhlanhla Lucky Nkosi. One of the questions, the first question I was asked today actually is Lucky really your name? Yes, it is. And my first name is just the Zulu translation of it as well. So I'm actually named Lucky twice. I am from the beautiful city of Johannesburg, go by many names, one of which is the fact that we are not Cape Town. And Joburg is in the beautiful country of South Africa. And if you're ever in a quiz and you have to figure out where that is, it's in the south of Africa. So clearly, we don't struggle with naming things as South Africans. We seem to be really, really good at this, from naming me to naming our country. We're known for many awesome things, such as our absolutely incredible wildlife, our beautiful, beautiful beaches. We're known for Cape Town and Table Mountain, and hosting the most epic football World Cup in history. We're also known for one other thing, having the best rugby team of all time. I work as a software developer for a company called BBD. We build bespoke software or custom software. And my team in particular is responsible for the company's research and development functions. We do learning and development. Absolutely love teaching. And for my sins, I'm also a lecturer at Wits University where I studied. But truly what's close to my heart is community. Absolutely love the tech community, and I'm involved in a number of them. The co-organizer of Josie JS. From that very not so brief intro, I hope you'll realize that I'm a bit of an oversharer. And while all of the other talks you will have attended today probably taught you a lot of really, really cool things, like how to secure your apps, this talk is not trying to teach you anything. This talk is mainly going to be about me oversharing and telling you quite a bit about myself and some of the random thoughts that go through my head when I'm eating yogurt. I'll start off with the fact that I'm narcoleptic. For those of you that aren't aware, narcolepsy is a disorder, I guess, that's characterized by random and sudden sleepiness, which means that I might fall asleep while speaking here. Around the same time, I was also diagnosed with ADHD. Who could have guessed, like most people in this industry. But what it means is that when I'm in a talk like this or in a class, I'm in one of two states. Either this, struggling to stay awake, or someone might say something that really catches my attention. And then I can't hear anything else that they said because I'm busy with my thoughts trying to figure out what I'm going to do with that information. So when a colleague of mine had the screenshot up during her talk that said, I flew my drone with Node, but I also crashed my drone with Node. It got me thinking. Now, Jerry said a lot of important things that day on very important topics, which I can't tell you because I can't remember. What I do remember is thinking, how on earth did she manage to fly a drone with Node? But also, if that's how she crashed the drone, how else could I possibly crash the drone in ridiculous ways? Let's fast forward a couple of months. I'm on my way back from a work function, a little bit inebriated, and ended up on my phone. I clicked an ad, and I ended up on a website called wish.com. And like it had happened a couple of times before that, I accidentally bought something, except this time I accidentally bought a drone. The drone was really awesome. It was called the SG900S. It's got some really cool features. It's got an auto follow feature. And the drone cost a couple of hundreds of rands. I'm trying to convert. That's like what, 1 to 15. But anyway, it was a very, very cheap drone. Needless to say, it's not the type of drone you want to fly outdoors because even the slightest gust of wind will take it away. So I only fly it indoors. The big problem is I don't really have a use for a drone. I live very close to a school and a police station, so it's technically illegal for me to even fly my drone outside my house. So I had a problem. I have this drone, and I don't know what to do with it. Then I thought back to Jerry's talk, where she spoke about how she flew a drone with Node. And I thought, why don't I fly my drone with Node? And I answered the random questions that were in my head. So today, I bring you 5 ways to kill a perfectly good drone. To do this, I had to try and figure out how to fly the drone with JavaScript to begin with. So for this, I figured I should lean into my hacking ways and maybe learn a little bit of networking and maybe some cybersecurity. And as any expert hacker will tell you, the first step to hacking is observation. So I went to some of the experts around the office, told them what I was trying to do, and a lot of them pointed me to Wireshark. They said, you have to see what's happening on the network and you might be able to recreate it. The drone would expose a very unsecure Wi-Fi network, and so I'd connect to it with Wireshark in hopes of seeing what the network activity looked like. Second step would be then to mimic it. The plan is I'd see what's happening and I'd write my own code to make the drone think that the controller was talking to it. What that looked like is this. Wireshark would show me some really interesting, probably, information. What you see there, those are all different records, and when you click on it, it goes and shows you detail about those packets that are being sent over that Wi-Fi network. The big problem here was not that I didn't understand any of this. The big problem was that what we were seeing was the data as it gets, or the network activity on the drone itself, and not necessarily what is being sent to the drone. So I theorized that, and to prove it, I decided I'm going to track what's happening on the phone, because the drone came with an app. And so I found this application called T-Packet Capture that promised to capture all the network traffic that's coming out of my Android device. Was happy with that, except every time I'd run this app, it would actually block all network activity on my phone, which made it pretty useless. Found it on the Play Store, I had high hopes, and what I did start seeing though was that the connection was made via the UDP protocol. And at this point, while I was diving into learning about UDP packets and how to recreate them, my friends felt the need to intervene. One of them said to me, you're going down this very deep rabbit hole and you don't have to. You need to rescue yourself, stop using Android devices. He argued that because Apple devices were so closely linked to each other, I would have a much better time trying to figure out what's happening on an iPhone if I'm using a MacBook Pro. I didn't have one at the time, I used his. Needless to say, I saw some very interesting network activity on his devices. But at that point, I realized that if I'm planning to do this talk about this drone, I should probably come up with a reason to not use that drone. I came up with an even better idea than trying to hack that drone. That was to take the company's credit card and buy an even better drone. And the drone that I bought is called the Parrot Mambo Mini. This drone is really, really awesome. It fits in the palm of my hand. I've got it right here in front of me. And the best part is it comes with attachments, which means I can attach something to shoot the audience with, maybe attach a claw so that I can fly the drone to get me a bear. Really, really useful applications of all of this modern technology. The interesting thing about this drone is that it had 2 ways to communicate or to connect to it. It had Wi-Fi and Bluetooth Low Energy. But because I had already suffered, or rather explored Wi-Fi enough, I decided to focus my efforts on Bluetooth Low Energy. Now, BLE is slightly different from traditional Bluetooth, mainly because of 3 things. Number 1, it's way more efficient on power, which means that we can run devices, BLE devices, for years on end without needing to change their batteries, which lends itself to different types of applications. They're ideal for the type of applications where you don't need to stream large amounts of data, we just send messages across. So our fitness watches, smartwatches, they don't really need to stream constantly. They just need periodically to send updates of data. And so BLE lends itself to really, really great use in those applications. And then it also allows us to connect to multiple devices at the same time. While I was thinking about this, a colleague of mine named Mike Geyser gave this talk. And I'm glad he put it on the slide, because otherwise I would have forgotten this. He asked the question, what should the web do? And in thinking about this, I realized that users expect the browser to do everything. I personally hate apps. It's not because I'm a JavaScript developer. I just don't want to download apps that I'll never use ever again. And so what you're going to see for the rest of this talk is 5 ways to kill a perfectly good drone, mainly with JavaScript in the browser. Let's start at number 5. I just realized that my counting might be a bit off, but we'll start at number 5 with JavaScript. My favorite thing about the JS community and the JavaScript ecosystem is that no matter what you're trying to build, as soon as you realize that your code is getting a little bit useful, chances are someone has built it already. You should probably find that library. So I found a library called Web Bluetooth Drone created by Peter O'Shaughnessy. And after tweaking it a little bit, I refactored it, added a little bit of spice and flair, created 2 scripts from that. And the result of that is that I could now write code that looks like this. Import the script on any page on a web browser, and once I've established a connection with my drone, I'm able to call flip, left, right, forward, and backward. And this really became the backbone of everything that you're going to see today. Now, I won't show you that. You're going to have to take my word for it. Because I'd like to move on to number 4 immediately, mimicking other devices. So at the same time, I was playing around with something called the Sensors API in the browser. A lot of our phones have gyroscope, accelerometers, and all of these sensors like the ambient light sensor, which we use to detect when you're picking up a phone so we can disable the screen so that you don't send messages while you're on a phone call. All of those different sensors we can now access directly from the browser. We can check if they're supported to make sure that we write clean and practical code. If we want to create a new sensor to give us data, we simply instantiate it. We need to actively start reading, and we can't read forever. So when you're happy with your application, you can simply call sensor.stop, and it'll stop reading. And how we actually make use of the data is that we simply create an event listener, and we can then either pass on that callback or implement it as you wish. So it's all vanilla JavaScript in the browser without needing to import any script whatsoever. What this meant is that I could now get the drone to mimic movements from my phone. So if I had a phone using the Sensors API and the accelerometer, I'm now able to get that data to my code and get the drone to mimic it. So when I move my phone, it would give me the X, Y, and Z values of the accelerometer. I then went through the very scientific process of console.logging each one of those values in different positions of the phone and getting a sense of what those numbers might probably look like. And the result of that looks like this. When I lift my phone up, it would get the drone to take off, leaning it forward would move the drone in that direction. When I put it back down, the drone would then try to land. This was awesome. I really, really, really had fun with this. There was one problem. The drone didn't die. So I figured, if I'm really trying to kill this drone, I need to do something ridiculous. And my manager at the time made a joke that he thought was funny. He said, ha, 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 ha. It's not like you're flying with fruits or anything. So at number 3, we're going to fly this drone with a banana. To do this, I'm going to run some code. Let me just see if I can mirror my display. I am in the correct, maybe not. We're going to hope that I'm in the correct web page. So I've got my beautiful drone over here. I'm going to start it up, and you'll see that it's going to blink green, meaning it's ready for a connection. And while it does that, we're going to go through the scientific process of connecting our banana to the computer. Very scientific. These bananas, Australian bananas, man. I've got 3 of them, and I've got 3 wires in front of me, so I'm just going to plug in each one of them. There's my second banana. And then last but not least, the yellow wire to our final banana. What this allows me to do is this drone still on? It is. I'm going to try and connect to my drone, and you'll see that it's looking for a Bluetooth device with very specific characteristics. Once it's paired, is that a solid green? gonna take off the drone, which means that now, as I touch and let go of the banana, it sends different instructions to the drone. What this allows us to do is much more interesting movements, such as flipping our drone. I'll do that one more time. I forgot to plug in a landing banana. Do you think you can catch it with Are you ready? There we go. Nice, thank you. Cool. So that's how you fly a drone with a banana. Let's see if I can get back there. How did I do that? It's actually pretty easy. I cheated. I used a small IC component called a makey. And the first version of this talk, I actually built my own version with an Arduino Uno because I was really focused on making this as cheap as possible. The makey is no longer as expensive as it was when I first started playing with the makey in 2012. Then it was very, very expensive. And what it does is that it fires off keyboard events in your computer. So the code that you're actually writing for this just binds to very simple keyboard events. And you then just wire up these different inputs to those buttons. The reason why this is working is because humans are largely made up of water. And so are all, I need to find the correct word, organisms. Yes. So are all living things. They're made up of water, and believe it or not, water is conductive. Not a good conductor, but it's good enough, it's just good enough for current to flow through it. And so you'll notice that every single time I touch these, I was also holding on to this wire. So all I'm doing is shorting the circuit of the wire that's connected to each one of these ports. And the code that I write, or that I would write if I wasn't using the makey, would simply check the voltage drop. And if it's significant enough, it would assume that I'm now touching that pin. So it's really, really simple, basic electric circuits. This was really, really awesome and fun, but it wasn't practical. And I was going through quite a lot of bananas, quite a lot of them. And so I figured I need to find something that is perhaps a little bit more useful than this. I was very interested at the time in human-computer interactions and understanding or questioning how we as humans interact with computers. I feel that we haven't really pushed the boundaries of that space enough, and I wanted to explore that. And so, at number 2, I decided to fly the drone without touching anything at all. Now, as I just said to you, HCI is something that I'm very, very interested in. In fact, I'm so passionate about it that I was tricked into doing a master's degree in just focusing on HCI. And so to do this, I just realized I forgot to charge my laptop. Let's see if we can get through this fast enough. And so what we have here is something called the leap motion sensor. And what the leap motion sensor does is it maps out my hand over the camera. It's a very small camera that sits on my desktop. And what it does is that it gives me the vectors of each one of my fingers as X, Y, Z values. This means that, and this is what that looks like, this means that if I'm able to aggregate each one of those vectors, I'm able to represent my entire hand as a single value. Following that, I can simply take the very scientific process of printing out all of those values using console.log and seeing what the values typically look like and playing around with a threshold value. That lended itself to me being able to control the drone without actually touching it. And this is what that looked like. So you'll see that I've got my hand over my desk, and as I move my hand, the drone is then able to fly around in the different directions. The reason why you're seeing a video of this, and I'm not showing you this, is because my IT department recently formatted my machine. And the creators of this device don't support web anymore, which meant that they removed all of the SDKs and libraries that I needed, and I only realized this last night. So I figured, demos are really, really important. How do I get this demo ready in time? Decided, why don't you just make it AI's problem? So what I did is I vibe coded a solution that uses the integrated webcam on my machine to try and get this working. I ran it once at like 1 a.m. this morning, and let's see if it works. So what I've got here is, I need to mirror my display again. My battery's actually gonna die, so maybe I should plug myself in. Do we have a place for me to plug in quickly? Thank you.
Let me get this out.
There we go. I made a joke earlier on that there's always something new that goes wrong with this talk. I did not imagine it to be me forgetting to plug it in, to plug my laptop in. Cool. So we're talking about this demo. So what I would typically do is that I would have the leap motion sensor connected to my machine, but with that unavailable, I figured that since computer vision and things like TensorFlow have developed enough, surely there's a way that I can do this. So all I did is I asked ChatGPT, well, Copilot with Claude, to actually go and, I'm not mirroring my screen, I want to show you the code base. So I simply told it to go and replace all of this, and I probably did like 2 or 3 commands, and this is what we've got now. So let's see if it actually works. So it's using hand pose, and what it's doing now is that it's rendering my face. It does confuse my hand, or it does confuse my face for my hand every now and then. So just bear with it. And let's just put the drone in pairing mode. This might just be the time this drone actually finally dies, and it'll be at the hands of AI. Let's see. So the drone is on, it's blinking, which means it's waiting for a connection. By clicking connect, it's searching through all of the Bluetooth devices that are in the room, which is a lot, but it's looking for a device with specific characteristics. So it found the characteristics, we connect to it. Can you tell that I'm nervous? There's the takeoff, which means that it can now rotate right. Rotate right. Are you gonna move back? Forward. Doesn't want to move back and forward. Maybe my hand is not. I should try this. I like that. Or this. Let's see. There it says forward, but not really. I've got zero, like, I've had no pilot training of this thing. My other demo, I could fly it right up to your face. Right now, I am not sure that I can. Let's see. Gonna hope for the best. Now we have to land it. Let's see. It feels like it's staring me down.
Oh, there we go.
That's one way to land. Sheesh. That was stressful. I can't believe that actually worked. Thanks, Copilot. But the number one way, the closest I've gotten to actually killing this thing is by letting people fly it. How this demo is meant to work is that I'm meant to ask all of you to tweet commands to this drone using this hashtag. Don't. I stopped doing this demo because the Twitter API started getting very, very expensive. And so you're just going to have to take my word for it. This is what most of your faces look like right now. The most common question I get when I talk about flying my drone with bananas is, why on earth would you do this? To answer it, I think about another common question that I get. Part of my job is providing training for our group of companies, 1,300 odd developers that are spread all over the world. And regardless of seniority, one of the most common questions I get is around how to be better. I get asked this question all the time. How do I improve? How do I learn? What should I be learning? And we know that when we look at performance, performance is impacted by deliberate practice. People come to me all the time and say, I've been learning AWS, for instance, but I just can't pass the test. And my question to them is, are you just reading the material or are you actively engaging with it? We know that this deliberate practice is absolutely necessary in order to achieve high level of expert performance. So, like bodybuilders flex their muscles and they lift, not me, the muscle that we constantly have to flex is problem solving, right? We need to constantly think about how we use the tools we have in order to solve these complex problems, especially considering how fast technology is changing right in front of our eyes. This morning's keynote, while I sat there, I realized that we've been thinking about AI, or I've been thinking about AI, as either this product or this thing that I engage with, or this thing that I can build a product out of, or this thing that's going to help me write code faster. But this morning I saw ways in which we can apply different design patterns to use this AI and embed it in how we code and what we code. Not just the products, but in actually how we bring about that software to operate. And it made me realize that learning and loving to learn and that feeling of not knowing and being comfortable in that feeling is absolutely essential for every single one of us, especially going into the next decade of software development. At work, I've led the building of what's called the Hive Lab, where we try and take people away from the traditional boring type of software. So our company typically builds banking software, government software, all the really, really, really important but very boring systems. And we've built this lab to try and encourage people to play around with technology, whether it's hardware or software, just so that they can flex that problem-solving muscle. It wasn't a surprise then that the first thing that was built out of that lab was this giant red box. If you plug it into a computer and you press this box, it will order Jerry's favorite bottle of wine. The second thing that was built from this lab is a lightsaber, for no purpose other than the fact that it's a lightsaber. But why do we do this? Why would we spend all of this time, effort, and money doing this? It's because we view playing as a means of growing. Our jobs are so tough, so complicated. Every single time you open social media, you're told, if you're not doing this, you're not a developer. If you're not using this pattern or this framework, you're not a 10x developer. The only way to keep up with the technology is to keep playing. So my parting words to you is keep playing and never stop. My name is Lucky Nkosi. Thank you very much.